The meeting will come to order. This is Adventures Abridged. My name is Zach. The story you're about to hear was created almost entirely by improvisation during a Dungeons & Dragons campaign over the course of 2 years, and at the time of this recording, that same adventure is still taking place. You don't need to know anything about D&D to be able to enjoy this story. But if you want to see the gameplay where it was developed in real time, you can find all of our sessions on YouTube and in podcast form via the links in the description. The Nobodies, Chapter 4. The diamond rose from the king's chest, wobbling and vibrating as if riding on the waves of the echo. It glowed brighter and brighter, and then shattered into a fine dust that floated above the king's face before slowly coiling and drifting into his nostrils. An eternity came and went with no sound other than the drip of floodwater into some unseen puddle from some unseen source. The king sat up, propped on his hands, and coughed violently, expelling seawater from his lungs. The gnomish priest who'd returned him from beyond the veil collapsed on the king's chest, exhausted and weeping. Your Highness, I was tied for hours. I had no diamonds.
It's okay, Yali. I am, as always, in your debt.
The priest continued weeping, and the king continued coughing, neither seeming to notice or care that Q was climbing onto the throne and thrashing his legs, for he was far too small to do so gracefully. Pearce scratched the back of his neck. All right, yay. King's alive, so do we just go out the way we came in, or... I imagine I have you all to thank for retrieving the jewel that brought me back from my death, seeing as I've never kept any in the palace. It's nothing, really, Kess said.
You said you had to eat a suit of armor,
Q chimed, now propping the king's crown, which had been on the floor beside his body, atop his horns. How many were killed? In the wave, I mean. The king asked. A lot, Kess answered. King Tamarin tried and failed to stand. His knees buckled, and he fell forward into a puddle. He grabbed his priest's hand. We must save all that we can. Clean out the vaults. Use every jewel my family has. Kess knelt beside the king. Someone beat us to the vault, your majesty, she said, holding the unused diamond in her palm. We were lucky to find very much of anything. Gods. And what sort of king am I, then? Spared only at the expense of my people. Kess pitied King Tamarin as he trembled, clenching his jaw so fiercely that she could hear his teeth grind. He looked to be only a few years older than she. Kess could certainly sympathize with the pressure one's family can place.
The king is unfit to rule. I'm your leader now,
Q barked from the throne, the crown falling over his horns and draping around his shoulders like a bulky necklace. King Tamarin looked up, his face tear-streaked, but betraying a hint of a smile. All hail the mighty... He stopped. What's your name, wise leader?
I am King Cucifer. Kneel before me.
Kess, Q, Pearce, and Augustus, along with King Tamarin and Priestess Yali, managed to sneak out of the palace and into the city streets. The air was thick and windless as the moons of Zilithos set, and the sun, not yet rising, started to brighten the horizon from its deepest black to a purple, and the stars in the sky began to dim. Fires still burned across the city, and cries of pain from the injured and the dying caused the king to wince. Lurching from shadow to shadow as they had before, they journeyed to the covered tent where the four strangers had first met Steph Copal nearly a day before. When he first saw the king, Steph closed his eyes. Augustus noticed a single tear rolling down his cheek before it magically vanished with a covert flick of Steph's wrist. "It's good to see you alive, Your Majesty," he said after a too long silence. "I see I found the right people for the job. Rather, they seem to have found me." "Indeed," said the king, his voice now all business. "Now, can someone please tell me what the fuck is going on?" Augustus pulled a scroll from the ropes on the back of his shell. "Well, let's see. We found the diamond, snuck into the palace, saved the king, snuck the king back to Steph, and," he pulled the crown from Q's head, "returned the royal jewels."
Hey!
Q protested. Augustus knelt down beside the young kobold, the bones in his feet cracking in protest as he did. He groaned. In his hand he held out a modest golden ring. "I think this particular crown might be more suited to a king as noble as you, Q." He placed the ring on Q's horn. It slid 3/4 of the way down before stopping, just a few inches short of his mother's skull.
Ah, fuck yeah, said Q. "No, this fits way better."
King Tam smiled. "I won't be so bold as to say the nation of Evercrest is in your debt. They may well have been better off without me. But as far as debts go, I'm certainly in yours. Thank you all." Do you think we could get that in writing? You know, just in case we ever need out of a tight spot," Augustus asked. The king limped to the desk where Steph had been sitting, grabbed a quill, and began to scribble. "While you're writing shit down," Pearce said, "I'm pretty sure I'm logged as dead after that wave." "That can be amended," the king began. "I'd actually like to keep it that way. Officially speaking, I mean." As you wish," the king said, flourishing the quill and handing the scroll to Augustus. "In writing, a note of my debt to you all, and on the official record, Pearce Goodblood perished in the Great Wave." By the time the king's saviors emerged from the tent, the morning sun was high in the sky. "All right," Pearce said, turning to walk away. "Thanks for the memories." Augustus furrowed his brow. "I don't know, Pearce. They weren't so great."
"No!" said Kess. "We just saved a king together. At the very least, we're going to have a drink."
I guess there's worse things than a morning ale after a night of work. There were 100 bars in this city. There's bound to be one of them left.
After nearly an hour of searching, the travelers wandered into a pub and inn called Gullivan's. Right beside the door, sunlight poured into a large hole that had been knocked into the brick wall during the carnage. Despite the damage, a lone barkeep was slinging ale and eggs as quickly as he could.
"Gotta pay to fix that damn wall somehow,"
Kess heard him grumble to a customer when asked why he was open. The four of them found a table in the back of the bar to nurse their ails and their wounds in silence. It wasn't until Kess spotted a familiar sight that anyone actually spoke. A halfling woman, dressed head to toe in diving gear, walked into the bar. She eyed them all with a smile as she snagged an ale directly from the hands of a drunken Goliath and sat at the table next to them, staring, as if to dare them to make the first move.
"The fuck's her deal?"
Pearce asked. Not answering, Kess rose and sat next to the woman. Pearce followed.
"The heroes of Evercrest, and yet ain't nobody ever gonna know,"
the woman said. "How long have you been following us?" Kess asked.
Sneaking up on 12 hours or so. I gotta piss like a racehorse. This damn thing ain't got any buttons or zippers or nothing.
"Who are you?"
"Zephy," Ale Mason to be specific. Most people just know me by my first name. Y'all are pretty damn impressive, you know that? Kess and Pearce exchanged glances. Well, hell, no need to be polite and introduce yourselves or nothing. Let's see, Kess, Pearce, then of course there's Q and Augustus over yonder. What the hell do you want? Well, I want to know why in the fresh fuck there's a kraken on top of the shoemakers, don't you, Mr. Goodblood? Things happen, Kess said. Natural disasters are chaotic and unexpected, but they happen. Not like this, sweetheart. Look, I got a lot of money and a wicked curiosity that I can't take care of all by my lonesome. So, if y'all want to help me... Zeffie slid a thick piece of parchment across the table. Pearce snagged it. It read, Ale Mason Brewers. Underneath was an address. Zeffie pointed to Q and Augustus. Y'all be at my barn at sunup, the whole bunch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta find me a socket wrench to get out of this damn thing before I piss myself. This concludes Chapter 4 of The Nobodies. This is a production of Adventures Unabridged. The ongoing story of The Nobodies can be found via links in the description. Thanks for listening. Meeting adjourned.